What's up, fight fans? Today we're diving into the most legendary wars ever fought inside a UFC octagon. Not just barn burners. We're talking about the fights that changed the sport, had everything at stake, and showed the kind of grit that makes you want to stand up in your living room and scream. This ain't just a highlight reel. This is the top 10 UFC fights of all time based on impact, intensity, legacy, and raw soul. Let's get it. At number 10, Frankie Edgar vs. Gray Maynard 2, UFC 125. Two warriors, one title, no quit. Maynard nearly destroyed Frankie in round 1, but somehow Edgar survives, adapts, and claws his way back into a draw. It was like watching Rocky in real life. Frankie became a legend that night. Heart of a lion and the chin of an anvil. At number 9, we have the second fight between Dustin Poirier vs. Justin Gaethje, UFC 291. BMF title on the line, two absolute dogs in the cage. First fight was a war. Second one, Gaethje ended it with a picture-perfect head kick. It was violence with artistry. Two of the most respected warriors of this generation. No trash talk, just straight up mayhem. At number 8, we have the first matchup between Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen, UFC 117. Anderson was untouchable until Chael ragdolled him for about 4.5 rounds straight. The most dominant champ the UFC has ever seen was losing. Then boom, triangle choke. Silva pulls it off with less than 2 minutes left. That wasn't just a comeback, that was a miracle under pressure. At number 7, we have Israel Adesanya vs. Kelvin Gastelum, UFC 236. If you ever doubt Adesanya's heart, go watch this. Gastelum pushed him to the brink in a 5-round war. By round 5, Izzy said to himself, "I'm prepared to die." Skill, courage, and storytelling. This fight was art. At number 6, we have Khabib Nurmagomedov vs. Conor McGregor, UFC 229. Biggest pay-per-view in UFC history. 2.4 million buys. Khabib didn't just win, he dominated. Personal insults, religion, family got this one ugly fast. Khabib humbled McGregor, then jumped the cage and nearly started a riot. The fallout? Global headlines, and Khabib retired undefeated. At number 5, we have the first fight between Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, UFC 196. Short notice, zero fear. Nate walked in off the couch and choked out the UFC's golden boy. This wasn't just an upset, it was a cultural moment. Nate flipped the script, flipped the bird, and told the world, "I'm not surprised." McGregor took the L like a man, but that night, Diaz became immortal. And at number 4, we have the second fight between Chuck Liddell vs. Tito Ortiz, UFC 66. This wasn't just a fight, this was the rivalry. Bad blood, real beef, and finally the rematch fans waited for years. It became the UFC's first ever 1 million pay-per-view buy event. Chuck knocked Tito out again and solidified himself as the face of a rising empire. At number 3, we have the first matchup between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar. Tough Finale 2005. Let's be real, without this fight, the UFC might not even exist today. Two guys fighting for a contract, but they gave us an all-time classic. 3 rounds of nonstop chaos and millions of new fans hooked instantly. Dana White said it best. That fight changed everything. At number 2, we have the first matchup between John Jones vs. Alexander Gustafsson, UFC 165. This was John Jones at his peak, and Gustafsson gave him hell. It was the first time we saw John look vulnerable. A deep cut, hurt leg, and a firestorm from Gus. Yet Jones dug deep and survived. This was legacy defining. Both men leveled up that night, win or lose. And at number 1, we have the second matchup between Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald, UFC 189. This is the gold standard, a title fight turned war. Robbie's lips was split open, Rory's nose was shattered, but both just kept going. That stare down at the end of round 4, chills. That's what fighting is all about. McDonald collapsed mid-fight. Lawler stood victorious, but changed forever. This wasn't just a fight. This was a Greek tragedy with gloves on. There you have it, 10 fights that shaped the UFC, elevated legends, and left everything in the octagon. Which one's your favorite? Did I miss one that deserves a spot? Drop it in the comments. And if you like deep fight breakdowns, wild rivalries, and real warrior spirit, hit that subscribe, smash the like, and I'll see you for the next Warzone recap. Stay savage. Peace.